Under the gentle glow of the moon, Cinderella moved quietly through the small house at the edge of the whispering woods. The night sky shimmered like a painted dream, and silver light slipped through the windows, dancing across the worn wooden floor. Cinderella's steps were soft, careful not to wake anyone, though she had long learned that the house never truly slept. There was always another chore waiting, another sigh behind her back, another reminder that she was expected to give without being seen. She carried a basket of freshly washed clothes, her fingers chilled by the evening air. Still, she smiled. Cinderella had a smile that appeared even when no one asked for it, a gentle curve of hope that lived quietly on her face. Her pale blue dress was simple and a little faded, but she kept it neat, brushing away every speck of dust as if kindness itself could be pressed into the fabric. Each fold of cloth was done with care, as though she were tucking her thoughts safely away, one by one. From the grand chair near the fireplace, her stepmother, Lady Varella, watched with narrowed eyes. Lady Varella always sat tall, even when resting, her sharp posture matching her sharp words. Her gown rustled like dry leaves whenever she moved, and her expression rarely softened, not even in the quiet of night. Nearby, the stepsisters, Brina and Lala, sprawled across velvet cushions, giggling and whispering to one another while pretending not to notice the work being done around them. They passed a hand mirror back and forth, tilting it this way and that, admiring their reflections and making silly faces. "Careful," Brina said with a smirk, nudging Lala. "She might drop something and make a mess again." Lala laughed. A high, squeaky sound, and kicked her feet playfully. "Then she have to clean it twice." Cinderella lowered her eyes, not because she felt small, but because she had learned that silence kept the peace. Arguing only brought more work, more sharp words, and longer nights. She finished folding the clothes and placed them neatly on a shelf, lining them up just so. When she turned away, a tiny mouse peeked out from behind a basket of firewood. His fur was soft gray, and his eyes sparkled with curiosity. He stood on his tiptoes, trying to look brave and important. "That was very brave." The mouse squeaked gently. Cinderella paused and smiled. "Hello, Pip," she whispered. "You should be asleep." Pip wiggled his nose. "I was, but the moon is too bright tonight. It makes everything feel like something special might happen." Cinderella glanced toward the window, where the moon hung large and glowing, as if listening to every word. "I feel that way too," she said softly. "Even if I don't know what." As Lady Varella cleared her throat loudly, Cinderella gave Pip a quick wink and moved on. She swept the floor, wiped the table, and placed a small pot of soup on the stove for the morning. She tasted it quietly, added a pinch of herbs, and nodded to herself. Each task was done carefully, like a quiet promise she made to herself to keep going. No matter how heavy the day felt when her tasks were finally done, she slipped outside into the cool night air, closing the door gently behind her. She breathed deeply, as if the stars themselves were offering comfort. The sky felt closer out here, wider and kinder than the walls of the house. She stretched her arms slightly, letting the breeze brush her cheeks and lift a few loose strands of her hair. The garden behind the house was her favorite place. It wasn't grand or perfectly trimmed, but it was alive. Small flowers peeked through the grass, and fireflies blinked like floating lanterns, drifting lazily through the air. The old willow tree swayed gently, its long branches brushing the grass as though telling secrets only the night could hear. Cinderella sat beneath it, folding her hands in her lap. Feeling the earth steady beneath her dot above her, the moon glowed brighter than ever, round and calm, watching over the quiet world. Cinderella tilted her face upward. "Do you ever wonder," she murmured, "if dreams can hear us?" A soft flutter answered her. A small bluebird landed on the branch above, tilting its head. "Dreams hear everything," chirped the bird, whose name was Luma. "They just wait for the right moment to answer." Cinderella laughed quietly, a sound as light as the fireflies around her. "You always know what to say." Soon more forest friends gathered. Pip scurried closer, joined by a chubby hedgehog named Mellow, who walked slowly but proudly, and a curious squirrel named Fen, whose tail flicked with excitement. A shy rabbit peeked out from behind the bush, and even an old owl blinked sleepily from a nearby tree. They formed a small circle around Cinderella, listening as if she were telling a story, even though she was only sharing her thoughts. The fireflies hovered closer, their lights glowing a little brighter, as if they wanted to listen too. "I don't wish for grand things," Cinderella said, her voice gentle but steady. "I don't need jewels or fancy halls. I just wish for one night where I could feel free, where I could dance, laugh, and not worry about being called back to work." The animals exchanged knowing looks. Mello nodded slowly. "One night can change many things," he said wisely. "Sometimes it only takes a small spark to light a whole path." Then twirled in place, nearly tumbling over his own tail. "And you already shine?" he added cheerfully. Cinderella smiled at them, warmth spreading through her chest. For a moment she felt lighter, as if her worries had loosened their hold. She imagined herself spinning beneath the stars, her laughter echoing freely. But before she could speak again, the house door creaked open. Lady Verella's voice cut through the air like a cold wind. "Cinderella! Daydreaming again? There's ash by the hearth that needs sorting." Cinderella rose at once. "Yes, madam," she said kindly, though her heart felt heavy. She gave her friends a small wave and headed back inside, her steps slow but steady, carrying her quiet courage with her Dot. As she returned inside, the animals watched silently. Pip clenched his tiny paws. "She deserves better," he whispered. Luma fluttered her wings, sending a soft feather drifting down like a promise that hope had not forgotten her. Inside, Cinderella knelt by the fireplace, brushing ashes into neat piles. The gray dust clung to her fingers and smudged her sleeves, but she didn't rush. She worked carefully, just as she did with everything else. As the ashes settled, she caught her reflection in the darkened glass of the window. For a moment she imagined herself glowing like the moon, confident and joyful, wearing a dress that sparkled with light. The thought warmed her chest. Even as the ashes cooled her skin, she hummed softly as she worked, a simple tune her mother once sang long ago. The melody wrapped around her like a memory, reminding her that love could live on, even when hidden, even when times were hard. When the hearth was clean, she washed her hands, folded the cloth neatly, and carefully placed the broom away, just as she always did later that night. When the house was finally quiet and even Lady Verella's footsteps had faded into sleep, Cinderella lay on her small bed near the kitchen. The mattress was thin, but it was hers. The moonlight reached her there too, painting soft shapes on the ceiling that slowly drifted and changed. She hugged a thin blanket around her shoulders and listened to the distant hum of crickets and the gentle rustle of leaves. Outside, her thoughts drifted like clouds. She thought of the garden, the animals, and the way the moon seemed to watch her with patient kindness. She wondered what it might feel like to dance without fear, to laugh without holding back. Slowly, her breathing softened and her eyes closed. In her dreams, she walked through a field of light, each step sparkling beneath her feet. The air shimmered with gentle music, and laughter echoed softly, warm and welcoming. She felt herself twirl, her worries falling away like shadows at sunrise. Her dress glowed brighter with every step, and the path ahead felt open and full of promise. Somewhere in the dream, a bell chimed, clear and hopeful, ringing with the sound of possibility. She didn't know where she was going, only that it felt right to keep moving forward. When she awoke, the moon was still watching, patient and kind, resting low in the sky as if it had waited all night just for her. Cinderella smiled sleepily, her heart calm and steady. She didn't know it yet, but the moon had heard her wish. And somewhere beyond the trees, deep in the quiet folds of the forest, magic was quietly stirring, gentle, hopeful magic, waiting for the perfect moment to shine. The moon rose higher that evening, glowing like a silver promise above the whispering woods. Cinderella stood by the small window of the house, watching its light spill across the garden she loved so much. The flowers looked softer under the moonlight, and the leaves shimmered as if they were painted with stardust. Something in the air felt different, as if the night itself were holding its breath. She pressed her hands together, her heart fluttering with a feeling she could not name. A gentle excitement mixed with a quiet ache. Behind her, Lady Verella's sharp voice echoed through the room. Hurry along. Tomorrow is a very important day. Brina and Lala twirled excitedly, their skirts swishing as they talked over each other about the royal ball at the palace. They chattered about sparkling gowns, shining jewels, and music that would play until the stars grew tired. Their laughter bounced off the walls, loud and careless. "A ball?" Cinderella asked softly before she could stop herself. The word felt magical on her tongue. Lady Varella turned, raising one thin eyebrow. "Of course. The entire kingdom has been invited," she said coolly. "Well, almost everyone." Brina giggled and spun around. "You wouldn't even know how to dance," Lala added, laughing as she struck a silly pose. "And who would you go with?" "The broom?" Cinderella lowered her gaze again, her cheeks warming, but her voice stayed kind. "I hope you have a lovely time." Lady Varella waved her hand dismissively. "Enough talk? There's much to prepare. Cinderella, you'll be staying here to finish the chores?" Cinderella nodded and returned to her work, though her heart felt heavier with every step. Still, she kept her gentle smile. When night finally settled and the house grew quiet, she slipped outside, drawn once more to the garden. The moonlight wrapped around her like a gentle blanket, and the air felt calm and comforting. Pip, Luma, Mello, and Fen were already waiting beneath the willow tree. Their eyes shone brightly when they saw her. "They're going to the palace," Pip said, his whiskers twitching. "And you're not?" Cinderella nodded, trying to smile. "It's all right. Some dreams are meant to stay dreams." Luma fluttered closer, landing lightly on a branch. "Or maybe," she chirped softly, "they're just waiting for a little magic." As if her words had opened a hidden door, the air shimmered. A warm glow appeared near the willow tree, swirling gently like fireflies dancing together. The animals gasped and stepped back in wonder. From the glowing light stepped a small, cheerful figure with bright eyes and a kind smile. Her hair sparkled like stardust, and her voice sounded like a gentle song carried on the wind. "Good evening, my dear," she said warmly. "I believe someone here has been very patient." Cinderella's eyes widened, her breath catching in her chest. "Who? Who are you?" "A friend," the glowing figure replied with a wink. "You may call me Myra." Myra looked around the garden, clapping her hands softly. "Such a lovely place. And such a kind heart." She turned back to Cinderella. "Would you like to go to the ball?" Cinderella's breath caught again. "I would, but I have nothing to wear. And my chores—" "Ah," Myra said with a knowing smile. "Magic loves a challenge." With a gentle wave of her hand, the old pumpkin near the fence shimmered and began to glow. It stretched and transformed into a beautiful carriage, painted in soft blues and silver, its wheels shining like moonstones. The mice squeaked in surprise as they felt themselves lift and stretch. Turning into proud little horses with shining coats and gentle eyes, Cinderella laughed, covering her mouth in wonder. Her laughter felt lighter than it had in a long time. "And you?" Myra said kindly, touching Cinderella's simple dress, light wrapped around Cinderella, warm and bright, spinning gently like a soft breeze. When it faded, Cinderella stood in a gown that looked like moonlight woven into fabric. It shimmered softly, changing shades of blue and silver as she moved, and glass slippers sparkled on her feet. Cinderella felt tears prick her eyes. "It's beautiful." "So are you," Myra said gently. "Just remember, magic lasts only until the moon reaches its highest point." Cinderella nodded, her heart racing with excitement and wonder. As the carriage rolled toward the palace, the forest seemed to cheer her on. Leaves rustled like applause, and fireflies danced along the path. Lighting the way, the palace gates opened wide, glowing with lanterns and music. Inside, the hall was filled with laughter, swirling colors, and dancers spinning gracefully across the floor. Cinderella stepped inside, her heart pounding. She felt nervous, but also brave. Every step felt like a dream she had stepped into. Across the room, a young prince named Ulrich noticed her. He wasn't drawn to her dress alone, but to the warmth in her smile and the quiet confidence in her eyes. He approached with a gentle bow, his expression kind and curious. "May I have this dance?" he asked. Cinderella hesitated only a moment before placing her hand in his. As they danced, the world around them seemed to fade away. They laughed softly, twirled beneath the glowing lights, and spoke of simple things, favorite songs, quiet gardens, and dreams that felt too big to say aloud. "You dance as if you're listening to your heart," Ulrich said with a smile. Cinderella blushed. "I think I finally am." Time slipped by like a happy song, unnoticed and gentle, until the moon climbed higher in the sky. Cinderella felt a soft tug in her chest, like a reminder whispered by the night itself. She glanced at the windows and gasped. "I must go," she said suddenly, fear and regret mixing in her voice before Ulrich could stop her. She ran down the steps, her gown shimmering behind her like a trail of moonlight. One glass slipper slipped off, landing softly on the stairs. Cinderella didn't stop to retrieve it. She disappeared into the night just as the magic faded. Her heart racing but full. The next morning, the kingdom buzzed with excitement. People spoke of the mysterious girl who danced like moonlight itself. Ulrich held the glass slipper carefully, determined to find the girl whose kindness and warmth had captured his heart. He traveled from house to house, guided not by pride, but by hope. When he arrived at Cinderella's home, Brina and Lala rushed forward, squeezing their feet into the slipper with eager smiles. But it would not fit. Lady Varella's smile slowly faded. "Is there anyone else?" Ulrich asked gently. Lady Varella hesitated, glancing toward the kitchen. Cinderella stepped forward quietly. "May I try?" The room fell silent as Cinderella slipped her foot into the slipper. It fit perfectly, glowing softly as if recognizing her. The second slipper appeared in her hand, sparkling just as brightly. Ulrich smiled, recognition and joy shining in his eyes. "I knew kindness would lead me back to you." Lady Varella and the stepsisters stared in disbelief as Cinderella stood taller than ever, her smile calm and confident. Cinderella didn't speak with anger or pride. She simply smiled, her heart light and free. She had learned that kindness was her true magic all along. As she returned to the palace, the moon watched from above, glowing with quiet satisfaction. The forest friends cheered from afar, and the kingdom welcomed a new beginning, one built not on glitter alone, but on patience, courage, and hope. And so, under the gentle moonlight, Cinderella's story found its happy ending, not because of magic alone, but because she never stopped believing in the goodness within herself.